This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Broadcasting live from the Minnesota State Fair, Day 5 of the Fair, Day 3 of the Common Man Program, 3 of 7. Fan stands presented by Mesh, Besher, and Spence Lawyers. Stop by our booth to the right of me. To my right and behind me is our sales, is our merchandise. You can buy all sorts of cool stuff. Tennessee is here. I'm the Common Man, Dan Cole. Excited and delighted to be joined by former Minnesota Viking and Chicago Bear linebacker Ben Leber. Ben Leber, of course, also a member of the Minnesota Vikings radio broadcast team. He's a sideline reporter. Does all sorts of work nationally for football on, I think, Westwood One and other places, maybe ESPN.
Sometimes.
You're all over everywhere. And, of course, he's a star of television now. We call it Good Morning America. No.
Today, no.
It's
one of those.
It's one of those. You're over on
Twin Cities Live.
Twin Cities Live.
There you go.
And you've been there how long now?
I just finished my 3rd year, so going into my 4th year.
Do you like TV? It's fun, isn't it?
It is fun. Yeah, I like it because it's there's no turning back. It's the same thing as live radio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like once the light goes red, whatever happens.
There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it.
And that is a little bit of the misnomer. It's funny we actually have the word live in our show name.
Yep.
Twin Cities Live. And I think the most common question I get is, how much of your show is live? Well, all of it.
Yes.
All of it is live. Now, like a lot of TV shows, you have pre-produced like segments. If like one of our reporters out here doing a story on the
Sure.
Fair, they might shoot that 2 days ago and we'll air it during a segment or a package. But for the most part, the intros and the outs and all the other stuff, those are all live. So, yes, it is a live show.
Many, many years ago, I was doing television. Ted Canova was the news director at Channel 9 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had me doing, I'm not making this up, I was doing 90-second commentaries twice a week. I was doing them Mondays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Fridays. So I would go into the studio and they put it up on the teleprompter and I could just talk about anything I wanted. He thought I was a genius. Well, he no longer works there, so I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But they let me go from that eventually. I've been hired and fired so many times. Like at Cool 108, I've been fired 5 times from that radio station.
Well, yeah, you're like
from the Vikings radio network, I've been fired 5 different times.
Well, you're like the quarterback that had that viral tweet that went out yesterday that was saying that, there's nothing like the beer in the airport after you get released for your 7th time, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so you know what that feels like to get fired 7 times, if not more, and you have that like little airport beer. It doesn't,
and it's okay.
Better.
Matter of fact, if you don't get fired, you figure somebody else that's in charge is incompetent then, because the other people fired me, you're not. There must be something wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
Hey, because if 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum, if 4 out of 5 program directors let you go from a position and the 5th one doesn't, there's something wrong with the 5th one, I think, or else he's hearing something that other people aren't. I'm not sure which one it is. However, I do know this: you played for the Vikings. They open on Monday night against the Chicago Bears at Soldier. That was your home for a number of years. You played under Mike Ditka. What was it like to play under Mike Ditka?
I'm in such a conundrum with that game, right? I mean, I have so many loyalties and alliances with my time in Chicago, and then now my current team has to go play there on Monday night with the brand new quarterback that everybody's excited about. Ditka was great. He's a big softy. Don't believe what you hear.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was a big, cuddly teddy bear.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean, we had super light practices. We rarely went full pads. We rarely went to the ground. It was a lot of just 2-hand touch.
Yeah.
What was your role in the Super Bowl Shuffle video?
It was behind the camera. So that was the thing. I migrated from like behind the camera, and I eventually am doing stuff now in front of the camera. It's been a long journey for me.
Can you dispel this rumor, either confirm it or deny it, that actually you were going to get the carry instead of William the Refrigerator Perry, but then you couldn't find your helmet, so they put the fridge in there and said you were going to get the carry and score that tutty? That's what I heard.
Well, I think it's best to leave that sort of like mythological.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm not going to neither confirm nor deny that.
I like that.
So if that's what's out there, I will say in all seriousness, you two idiots, had me going. What was it?
Harrison?
The Harrison thing?
Yeah.
So I turn on the radio and I get in the car and I catch it. I don't know. I'm going to guess maybe 25% into the conversation. And you start talking about like, oh man, can you remember when Hitman had that whole thing in the locker room at the end of the last season and was all emotional and he sticks around for another year and comes back and all of a sudden, now he gets traded and I'm like, what? Like, I think I said that in my car. I'm like, what is happening? So I'm looking at my phone, trying to find, searching his name, looking for breaking news.
I just glanced at a guy and said Harrison, so I thought it must have been Harrison. I didn't realize we had another Harrison on the team.
The thing is why you guys are so good at that is that Tenna just was going with you.
Right.
So normally I can tell, in Tenna's voice, okay, this is a bit or this is whatever. And I listen for...
Well, if Rosen's there, he ruins the bit. But yes.
True.
Yeah.
But for a good 5 minutes, you guys just kept going with Hitman and Harrison and
how dare you do this to him?
Dedicating
his whole career to the club.
And you guys had me. I mean, you guys hooked it. You set the hook. You reeled me in. I was in.
But look you're still walking. We're catch and release. That's what we do. We didn't mount you up here. Yeah. There's Ben Leber. We reeled him in.
He had Alec Lewis, the writer of The Athletic, was also fell for it. He called Harrison Smith's agent.
No,
to see if it was real or not.
How much fun is that?
See, at least everybody listening and all the people here, when you hear that Ben used to play, or I'm saying it like you guys. I hate that I just did that to myself. But when you said that I played for the Chicago Bears, I mean, nobody's really going to actually be Googling my name to see if I played for the Chicago Bears.
Were you even born back when Dick was coaching? Or were you 4 years old?
No, I was. Yeah, that was what, 85?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 6 years old.
You were 6 years.
No, I was 7 years old.
He was 7 years old.
Yeah.
Youngest player ever in the national history of the National Football League. It's amazing that you were able to play it. That's another amazing story that a lot of people don't talk about a lot. You were 7 years old for the Bears. That's an amazing thing.
Pretty advanced.
So what do you think? So now, me being the negative guy, be the glass half empty guy, looks like we thought Howell was going to be the guy. The quarterback whisperer couldn't turn from water into wine with him.
No.
So now he's gone. We trade him. We release Rippon, and we go out and get Carson Wentz. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think from a top down look at it, just what it looked like from the organization. I like the fact that our organization can take a look at what they think is maybe the wrong move or the move that didn't. What are you eating? My God.
My wife made white bean chili, chicken chili.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, I love white chicken chili, but the thing that just came out of that thermos looked like a ball of pus.
It looks like baby food.
Yeah, I was like, and then you had a piece of chicken hanging down. Golly. So anyway, as if that wasn't distracting enough.
You want some?
I think during the break I'll have some.
Yeah, but now I've double dipped already.
That's fine. You don't carry any diseases.
Not that I know of. No.
I think you're pretty safe.
I think I might have African sleeping sickness.
And what is that?
Well, you don't.
I don't know what African sleeping.
You want to sleep all the time. That's all I know
like narcolepsy.
I've got African sleeping. I was bitten by a tsetse fly, radioactive tsetse fly. Dangerous, much like spider.
And you didn't get any special powers?
No,
you just fall asleep.
No, I just fall asleep out of nowhere. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything.
Okay, so going back to what we were talking about earlier, that I do think that it's nice when an organization doesn't just compound their what they think is like a perceived mistake. It's like, we do need to have a competent quarterback that you're very confident in going into the season, given everything we've already talked about with J.J. McCarthy. So instead of being like, nope, we picked this guy up in the offseason, we actually got a little, gave up a little something to get him, doggone it, we're going to make this thing fit. No, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. I mean, you gave him ample amount of time during all the offseason stuff, during preseason. He got enough reps that if you feel like there's a better answer, well, then go out and find that answer. So I like the fact that they were able to do that.
On my Twitter account, or X, I guess it's called now, I tweeted before the trade. I did not know it was coming. And I said, they were talking about, who are they going to keep? And I thought, to me, there was too much consternation over, we got to have a veteran quarterback. It's got to be Rippon or Howell. It's like, if between Brosmer, Rippon, or Howell, if I'm standing there and I got to have a quarterback to go in and they're standing on the sideline, I'm taking Brosmer anyways. I thought it was kind of a lot of fretting over nothing, but now that's changed. Obviously, we don't have to worry about that. Would you have been, obviously the team wasn't, would you have been comfortable with Max Brosmer, very limited, he's only played one Division I season of football with the Gophers, played pretty well in the preseason, but he's playing with second strings and backups and playing against him. If the Vikings had said, we're just going to go with Max Brosmer behind McCarthy, you think that's a fatal mistake? Or?
I would not have loved it.
Yeah.
I think we all are infatuated and fascinated by what the Brosmer thing could be. But the thing is, like, there's such a difference between, and I know you well enough. You're going to hate this take because you think this is all like overthinking football and sports and whatever. Okay. But there's a difference between playing well in a preseason game where there's limited everything, limited defense, limited offense. You don't have all your bits and pieces in the game plan in, and then when you go through 17 weeks where every game plan is pretty extensive.
Right.
I mean, in a lot of ways, you do take some of the foundational stuff that you put in during training camp and you tweak it all. And then that might change from week 2 into week 4. And you're like, oh, yeah, remember that pass package or that short yardage or red zone package that we had against this team? Well, we're going to have the same package, but we're going to change some stuff. Instead of this call meaning this, we're going to change it to this. And I think that's just a lot to put on,
right?
A guy like Max Brosmer in that backup role where you do have to be very comfortable with the game plan because you don't know if you're going to have to go in the second quarter because JJ hurts his shoulder or something. So I think that just the confidence of knowing that you have a veteran back there, and then Carson Wentz's situation where he's been on very, very highly successful teams. He's done it at a high level for a while, that he knows how to do that and get ready for the season and the grind of the season. I think it's a much more like relaxing, confident situation to be in.
Okay, I didn't terribly hate that. That wasn't that bad. I tend to agree with that. Now I'm going to see if you're going to hate this. You're going to hate this take. Here's my take.
All right.
If it comes down to needing Carson Wentz, Brett Rippon, is it Brett?
Yeah.
Brett Rippon,
Just call him Rip.
Sam Howell.
Just call him Rip.
Sam
Max
or
Brosmer.
Rip or Sam Howell. If you need them for more than a game or two, it really doesn't matter anyways, right? Isn't it kind of mix and match, 6 and 1, half dozen of the other? Think about this. In the National Football League, of the 32 starting quarterbacks, how many do you go? Hot dang, that guy's good. What, 10, 12, 15? And then after that, it starts to go. Yeah. So then the backups, it's hard to even have a good backup. So I think if we have to go to Carson Wentz for an extended period of time, I suppose he could. He could, go back to the thrilling days of yesteryear. But more than likely, he's going to be Carson Wentz. Why? Because he's Carson Wentz. Why is he Carson Wentz? Because his last name was Wentz and his family named him Carson. That's number one. And two, that's who he is, right? Or do you not agree with that? Do you think, no, these guys can catch lightning in a bottle, and one backup can be better than another?
I think they can catch lightning in a bottle, and I do think it matters to have somebody that's kind of been there and done that before. And look at Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco's like, he's a situation that was like, you're just there as like a veteran guy, and then he gets thrust in there and he does really, really well. And now he's probably going to be the starting quarterback again.
Yeah.
And wasn't that the whole situation with Trent Dilfer and with the Ravens?
Yeah.
Like, he was not the starter going in. He was the backup. And then he eventually became a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Nick Foles took over for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Nick Foles took over for Carson Wentz. And so, like, it comes all full circle. That
You took over for Dick Butkus.
I did.
With Chicago.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but then like Refrigerator Perry came in for me.
Yeah, he got the carry that you were.
Yeah, I was supposed to go.
You're
down
still bitter about it, too, aren't you?
A little bit.
I can tell you.
A little bit.
Yeah, they wouldn't have called you refrigerator. You're a little small. You'd have been mini fridge. Those little ones that you're seeing.
Yeah, like a dorm fridge.
Yeah, like a dorm fridge. Yeah. My boy has to have one at the Ohio State University. My wife moved him in. She was in tears. The place was so bad. They're off campus. And she opened the refrigerator door, and there was like mold in there and stuff like that, and stuff that had been out there in years. And so she went out and bought him his own little refrigerator, which eventually in about
like
3
he
weeks,
has his own personal fridge.
Yeah, a little tiny one. And now that's going to have mold in it in about 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah,
because he's not going to care about it.
No. That's just the way college is. Like that's the least of your worries.
Can you hang one more segment?
Yeah, I got
let's go take a break then. Hey, Bren Leber's here with us. We're excited and delighted to have him here. Take a short break. Fan Stands presented by Mesh Besher and Spence. We're here at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, broadcasting live Carousel Park, shadows of the grandstand, right here on the Fan.
Now.
Welcome back to the Minnesota State Fair. I'm Common Man Dan Cole. He's 10-B. Ben Leber is with us as well. So if I'm the Bears defensive coordinator going into this next game, I'm going to say, here's the game plan. Double Justin Jefferson. Ready, break. Hut one, hut two, right? Isn't that, I mean, it's not as simple as that,
no,
but,
not as simple as that.
But without Addison, and unless we make a trade for Adam Thielen or somebody, I don't know. Do you think they'll make a trade? Do you think they're going to acquire a receiver either on the waiver wire, somebody that's released, or a trade for like a Thielen or somebody like that?
I mean, definitely if they can find somebody on the waiver wire or something like that. If they can find somebody on the street that they don't have to pay for, 100%. I mean, I think that's going to happen regardless. But as far as if they think that person's going to be the person that steps up in place of JA, I don't know. It's hard to find those type of guys that are going to be on the street because obviously they're on the street for a reason. I do think that they are probably going to make a move still. As long as Carolina keeps what we think is the perceived asking price for him, then I don't see them moving on Adam Thielen. I mean, they know that they can command a pretty high price for him. We aren't that desperate. I know 3 games is a big part of the season, but at the same time, I'm not of the belief that we can't win those games without Jordan Addison. Like, we have a lot of other weapons, and I personally is still. Can
you tell me what those weapons are? Because I'm not familiar with them.
Well, even with Naylor being in there, if he's the one that has to step up and be that next receiver with Justin Jefferson,
bad hand.
We have, but. Yes.
What if he's got a broken bone and can't play?
That's the thing. I don't know how severe this injury is. Now, I'm under the belief that it's maybe not that serious. Okay. Let's just go with the fact that Naylor steps in for those 3 games, and he's wide receiver 2. We still have Justin Jefferson. We still have 2 running backs that I think are really, really good. We still have a tight end, and actually probably 2 tight ends when you throw in Oliver, who actually catches the ball better than people think. We can move the ball, and I'm going with the belief that up until basically after the Dublin-London game, I think that we're going to walk away from every one of these games saying the defense was the strength. The defense is what carried us. So how much that defense has to carry us without J.A. in there? Maybe a little bit more. But I don't think that we have to overpay for somebody.
We don't have to score 31 to win the game.
We don't have to score 31, and I don't think that we have to go out there and say, like, oh, my gosh, we have to get Adam Thielen back. Like, we're willing to give up a third-rounder or whatever, and we're gonna take this part of his contract. Like, no. I mean, he's there if it makes sense, but I don't think he makes sense for that asking price, at least the asking price we hear on social media.
What is that asking price?
I heard it's a third-rounder.
Oh, come on. Seriously, for a guy that's injured?
No way. You would not give up a third-rounder for Thielen?
That's exactly that.
At his age, no way.
100%.
You can't do that.
I mean, if you're willing to give like a 5th-rounder or a high 6th-rounder,
which they have a lot of now.
Which we have a lot of.
A Spielman pick is what we call it.
Yeah,
the Spielman pick.
A Spielman pick. Plus, if we do something with this contract to make it a little bit, more fair about what they owe and what we owe, then that's doable. But I think Alec Pierce out of Indianapolis, that's the other name that gets floated around. If the Colts are willing to part with him at a fair price, I think he
might just get cut.
And that's the thing. We might have to wait to see if he gets. But the thing is, like, if he gets cut, do you want to go into the waiver system?
He gets to shoot, yeah.
And I don't know if he's a true 4-year accrued player, which I don't think that he is because he's only 25 years old. He might have to go through the waiver system versus just being a straight-up free agent. If he's a straight-up free agent, I would assume that he'd want to pick us, and we'd say, like, hey, come over here. He'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll come play for you guys. If he's on the waiver wire, then we have to go through the waiver process, and I don't know if we're going to qualify to get him. So we might have to pay for him if we, before he hits there. So all that being said, I think a guy like Pierce probably gives you a little bit more of a dynamic player, and he's younger. So if you're going to move on somebody, I think you maybe move on that guy instead of Thielen.
What is your confidence level that J.J. McCarthy will hit the ground running? 10 being you think it's a lead pipe cinch. 1, you wish we were starting Wentz on week 1 and everything in between.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be like an 8.
Really?
I think he's going to play really
You
well.
sell hope, don't you? You're a salesman. You love selling hope, man.
I guess I believe in the system. I believe in the players that he has around him. And I believe that he's been told and he has the mindset that he doesn't have to be Superman. Like, we've got a great defense. If we get in a red zone situation, we've got a great kicker. There's no reason at this point, again, I'm using that early bye week as sort of my benchmark as far as the season goes. Like, it's okay to be safe. It's okay to be conservative. It's okay to be sort of a game manager in that 5-game stretch. And after that, if we want to start pressing the gas pedal a little bit more, making some riskier throws and all that stuff, then fine. But I think the first 5 games, I think that he could play game manager-like, and we can still win a lot of football.
Well, and you know what I think about game manager? I always thought game manager is a label that everybody looks at as something like it's awful. Like, you don't want, but don't most quarterbacks manage a game? You look at the game, you see what's in front of you. Sometimes you have to check down. Sometimes you have to do this. It all depends who you're playing, how you're playing, what the game. Everybody manages a game. I think that the idea of game manager, meaning like, all he's gonna do is hand off, and he's gonna throw little short passes, and you curl up in the fetal position as soon as there's pressure. To me, that's not the definition of game managing. Game managing is what I see in front of me. If this team is really good at rushing the passer, they lead the league in sacks. Well, guess what? We're gonna have to move around a little bit, do some play action. We have to do a lot of different things. If they're not very good at rushing the passer, I think I can have them stand back in the pocket and look all day. So I just think it varies on the strengths of your team and then who you're playing. The game manager thing is always looked at as a bad thing. Do you agree with that, or am I crazy?
I don't think game manager is a bad thing. I think it's a bad. I think for the player itself, do you want to be labeled as a playmaker or a game manager? I mean, I know it's semantics. Of course, I wouldn't want to be labeled as a game manager because it seems like you're less than. But there's a lot of the systems dictate whether you're a game manager or not. I would even contest that Joe Montana was a game manager. Yeah. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. But he played in a system that didn't ask him to take a lot of risks. They weren't a big that
people
offense,
said about Tom Brady.
That's the same thing about Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom Brady was not asked to throw the football 50 yards downfield and make a risky throw against a too high safety that's buzzing.
Except for the one year he had Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Then he let
then it's different, and then obviously your personnel changes a little bit, and then McDaniels is like, okay, well, we have this big play receiver. Every 50-50 ball he's going to come down with, so just throw the ball, when in doubt, throw it high to Moss. But for the most part, you look at the way that Tom Brady played, he just played so smart and cerebral that he just picked you apart. And then, well, would you say this game manager like? Yeah, probably. It looks different than what Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre played like.
Right.
You know, they were much more risky, and they were willing to throw the ball down in some tight situations. It's also the reason why Favre led the league in interceptions as much as he did touchdowns. So I do agree with you. Long-winded answer to game manager is not something I think you should, look down at.
Right.
You can win a lot of games and be a Hall of Famer as a game manager.
When you look at the division, on paper, we always do the on paper thing, and if everybody stays healthy, it looks like it should be real competitive. And I like that, actually. I mean, sure, it's great to be like New England was, and you had 3 terrible teams most of the time, and you got almost like 6 gimmies, and you're getting to the playoffs all the time. And Detroit coming off a 15-2 season, they lose both coordinators, but they keep most of their players. Everybody loses a few. They lost their longtime center. Green Bay, every national thing I read, everybody seems to think Green Bay is going to take another step, and the Bears should be improved. I don't know how much of it. Ben Johnson was a great coordinator. Does that translate into a head coach? I don't know. When you look at the division as a whole, do you think it's going to be? Is it a 4-way race, 3-way, 2-way? Do you think the Vikings have the inroads to the championship? How do you look at the North?
Well, I think everything's going to go through Detroit, even with all the coordinator changes. I actually think that people are sleeping on Detroit a little bit too much. Even though they're the favorite to win the division, I think that everybody looks at the coordinator situation as like, I don't know if they're going to repeat. If we just look at their team on paper, they're too talented not to be successful. You look at their defense, and you know this better than anybody else at our station and a lot of people out there because you follow them more than anybody else. The number of injuries that they had on that team. Let's just start with Hutchinson up front. He changes the game. I mean, having him back on your defense completely changes the way that you guys are playing football. You get all of those guys that were injured in the back end of the defense, along with a better pass rush. I actually think that your team is going to be better than last year's. As long as somebody can pick up and do 80% of what Ben Johnson could.
Right.
But the defense should be markedly better than what they were last year, and that's basically what kept them out of the Super Bowl. It was like they just couldn't stop anybody.
They've got big time players in the secondary.
Absolutely,
they've got guys that can cover back
100%
too.
Tenna and I could call the defense for the Lions defense.
Do you like Jordan?
Josh Metellus did call it apparently the last preseason.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Do you like Jordan Love? I think I like him more than a lot of people. I think he's good.
I'm mixed on him. I think that there was a stretch last year where I remember being on PA's show, and I was like, I got to give this guy some props. He's actually playing really well these last 3-4 weeks. The thing is, I think it's still too inconsistent. there's something about his game, and maybe it's his mannerisms, or maybe it's just, this weird bias I have toward. He doesn't pass the eye test to me, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what I can put my finger on. I don't know if I would be totally comfortable and confident if he was our quarterback. So that's kind of the way I look at it with them.
Caleb Williams. Now, again, he came out. He was supposed to be generational. He was stuck in a pretty bad situation there. They didn't have much of an offensive line. Their coach seemed to be, everybody wanted him run out of town on a rail, and he finally was. Now he's got Ben Johnson. Again, I don't know what that difference makes. Do you like Caleb Williams? How do you feel about him and just the Bears in general?
I like him. I think he's going to drive Ben Johnson crazy, because I think Ben Johnson, there's an absolute mad scientist strategy to the way that he builds an offense. And so when he has this guy running this route and this running back chipping and releasing out, and he's going to run this specific route, there's so much of a timing and a strategy behind his X's and O's. I don't think that Caleb can operate the way he wants to operate. Caleb is much more of a backyard player. He makes plays with his legs. He's unbelievably gifted when it comes to his physical traits. But I think he makes the most plays when he can get out on the perimeter and make plays on secondary broken down routes versus within the system. Here's my drop. Here's my reads. It's 1-2, check down to this guy or check to this guy. I don't think that he's built like that. And if you believe the rumors coming out of training camp, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So, if you don't have the accuracy, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's like KOC's number one thing. Accuracy as a quarterback is so paramount in the NFL, and if he's having trouble with his accuracy and he's never taken snaps from under center, which is what Ben Johnson wants to do, I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains with that offense, at least for this year.
Going into the season, who do you think the best team in pro football is? Top to bottom. Barring injuries and all that, who would you say is the best team in pro football?
Man, that's a tough one.
There are a lot of good teams, that's for sure.
I would say maybe the Ravens right now.
Really? Okay.
I think that they have everything. They have playmakers on both sides of the ball, and I think that they have a winning. I know they haven't shown it, and I know that Lamar has struggled in the postseason. But when you look at a championship caliber team, they've proven it, and I think right now, I think they're probably the best team in the league.
For the Vikings specifically, which unit will have the better season and be more dominating, the offensive line or the defensive line?
Defensive line. Defensive line might be the best in football.
Wow.
No, really?
I think our five guys, even with Harrison Phillips being shipped to the Jets and probably Redmond stepping in there to be the starter, at least on first and second down, I think our five guys in our 3-4 defense, the five guys that are on the line of scrimmage, the best in the league. So I think they have the better of the year between the two lines.
I thought it was Harrison Smith they traded.
You're not going to get me twice.
Yeah.
Should we be concerned about Van Ginkel hasn't been practicing here for a little while?
He didn't play much of the preseason last year. I think he was injured with something very similar last year, and I don't think he played one preseason game last year. And then all of a sudden he comes out in the first game in New York, and we're like, holy cow, this guy can play. And then from there, it was a Pro Bowl season.
What did you see from Dallas Turner in year one? And is there even room or space for him to even contribute more this year?
Definitely room and space. I think he's got to break out of a little bit of the mechanics. He's a little too mechanical for me, the way that he pass rushes. I think when he's got a free go on the outside, he's fine. When he's going against tight ends and running backs, he's fine. I think he struggles having a plan and reacting quick enough to what a tackle sets on him. And I think he's gotten much better about that from year one to year two. But now we have to see it in real life. I've seen a lot more in preseason. His fluidity, the way that he's got a little bit more of an arsenal about how his pass rushing moves go. Last year, you just see a player that's thinking, and he's playing slow. I think he's going to be a much faster player this year.
He was 17th overall?
Yeah, we traded up a lot to get to him.
To 17th.
Yeah.
Right now you'd have to say he hasn't lived up to those expectations. Do you think he can be a 17th overall pick? Do you think he's got that kind of talent?
I think he has the talent. I think it's also we have to get him on the move a little bit more as far as running some stunts and things of that nature. As of right now, I don't know if he is the pure pass rusher, the Jonathan Grenard type that we thought that he was going to be. Doesn't mean he can't grow into that. I just think that instinctively right now, it's just not. I mean, you look at the way Grenard runs, even Gink. I mean, the way that they just, there's a relentlessness to them. There's a fluidity at which they move, and he just doesn't have that right now. I actually love the way Gabe Murphy plays. He was a guy that was injured for most of last year, and they saw a lot of qualities in him, but he lets it loose, I think, a little bit more than Dallas does right now, too.
We acquired the Mason kid from San Francisco. We have two guys in the back. I mean, we've always had two guys, but we had who was a guy the last couple of years?
Aaron Jones?
No, along with Aaron Jones.
Ty Chandler?
Ty Chandler.
Yeah.
Mason, obviously, they want him to be an upgrade. There's conversation, and maybe you're privy to these, at least we've heard that the Vikings will probably want to run the ball a little bit more than they have in the past. Do you think that's, if they still had Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins, they wouldn't pass as much? Or do you think this is also partly because we have a young quarterback, we do need to run the ball more? Or do you look at, like, for instance, not that Detroit cornered the market on it, but they used two running backs extensively last year, and that change of pace, given a different look all the time, the thunder and the lightning, whatever, Sonic and Knuckles, whatever you ever want to call it. Do you think going with another running back, and it sounds like they're going to probably, I don't know if they're going to get equal playing time, but it sounds like they do want to run the ball more. What do you think is behind that?
Well, I think we were terrible in the red zone last year about putting the ball on the ground and scoring touchdowns. I mean, that's, when you're near the bottom of the league and rushing touchdowns, that's not good. I mean, so I think they want to change that narrative. And I do think that they attempted to do the same thing last year. It just didn't work out with Ty Chandler being that number 2 guy. And I think this year they're like, okay, we still want to philosophically be the same team where we want to run the football. The thing is, like, we ran the football quite a bit last year. You look at the actual number of attempts, we ran the football quite a bit. Now, was it always in the situations that you're maybe hoping to? I don't know. I mean, you have to go back and kind of look at each series by series. But when it comes to number of rushes, we actually are more of a running football team than most people think. I think the acquisitions with Fries and Ryan Kelly, with Donovan Jackson on the left guard, I think the style of run is going to be different as well. I think that we're going to get much more power football. We're going to look a little more downhill, especially with C.J. Ham being the lead back there. I think some of our runs will look a little bit more traditional, old school football because we have the type of players to block up front, and we have got a guy like Jordan Mason that can do that. And plus, Aaron Jones is really, really good about finding little creases, kind of like Dalvin Cook was. I mean, there was so many runs where we saw Dalvin Cook, like, how did he kind of squirt through that? There wasn't much of a gap there. I think Aaron does a similar job in the way that he can kind of snake through and slither through the line like that. So I think stylistically, our run offense is going to look a little different.
Last question for you. I think it's going to be the Vikings and the Falcons in the NFC Championship game, and you're on your own after that. What do you think will be the NFC Championship game?
Well, I would hope it's going to be us in there. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it like that deeply about who's going to be down in the postseason like that. There's something about Washington that really intrigues me with just the way that they're set up. Just a young, hungry football team with a defensive-minded head coach, and they've got a budding superstar quarterback. And they assigned Scary Terry to this extension, which I think everybody's expecting that to happen anyway. I kind of like what they're doing over there. So maybe it's a Vikings commander.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Commanders. Very good. Always good to see you.
Great to see you.
Now, this is the first time this year. Or is this the first time the calendar year been on this? Because it's usually twice a year. I'd like to.
It's kind of a biannual thing.
I'd like to make it 3 times a year, if you don't mind. Maybe early in the season and late.
God, I think we can do that.
All right, let's do that.
Just for you.
People can.
We can't have him on Program Password anymore because he's on Twin Cities Live. Television.
I know.
In the afternoon.
So you can catch Ben on Twin Cities Live. He's also with the Power Trip Morning Show. He's also on the Viking Radio Network and other places as well. Thanks for your time, my friend.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you all.
Ben Leber.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
We'll take a break. Come back with more. Don't forget Meat Sauce coming in at about 2 o'clock live at the Minnesota State Fair. Shadows of the Grandstand at Carousel Park right here on the. coverage continues here on the Fan. It's day 5 of the fair, day 3 of Tennessee and Common out here. We'll be here the rest of the week through Friday, broadcasting live. And thanks to Mesh, Besher, and Spence. Stop by our booth here at Carousel Park through Labor Day to catch your favorite shows, games, and bits live. And don't forget, we have our State Fair merchandise for sale here as well. Meat Sauce is on property. He's going to join us a little bit later. He'll be with us from 2 until 3.
Boy.
Then from 3 until 4, he's going to be participating in the KFAN kissing booth. So if you'd like to smooch Meat Sauce, I'm sure a lot of you would love that. You'll have that opportunity, male or female. We'll give you that opportunity.
Yeah, baby.
The Meat Sauce kissing booth here at KFAN. Hey, this has been something that we've been doing for years and years and years. We call it an Open Mic Monday. We have a microphone open right there for the 5 C's. Comments, concerns, complaints, and what would there be to complain about? Compliments and questions. So come on up. Don't delay. Don't be shy. It's just a microphone and won't bite. We really haven't been doing this for years. During this last break, I said to Tennessee, I got nothing. What should we do? He said, why don't we do Open Mic Monday? So this was just a spur-of-the-moment thing because I really have got nothing. So really,
if you guys don't come up here, then you're throwing me under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then now, awful idea.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking.
Open the seal.
Open Mic
the seal.
Monday. Yeah. What's your name, me boy?
Get up close to the microphone.
Pull that thing right up the road.
Sure.
You can tilt it.
Hello?
There you
Hello.
go.
How's this?
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Your name?
My name's Aaron.
Aaron, and you're from where?
I'm from Minneapolis, originally from Austin, Minnesota.
Austin, Minnesota. Now, so, like, if I would have said, hey, you're from Albert Lee, you'd get really mad, right?
Yeah,
'Cause that's
exactly.
our tribe, right?
No.
Yeah, because
Lesser.
Paul Peterson, ping guy's from Albert Lee, and I'll tease him all the time. I'll go, you're from Austin, aren't you? And he'll rise up in his seat and he'll give me that grimace like he wants to take me on. So you're from Austin, okay?
Yep.
Spam country.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I just had a quick question. I mean, well, it's...
Make it a long one because we got about 10 minutes. So sure, just go on and
Do that
on.
too.
Make it a Dan Barrero kind of question, would you?
kind of question. I don't know if I can be that
long?
philosophical about my question as he can be. So I guess I just wanted to... I don't mean to be a homer or anything, but I know all the, everybody, all the Vikings fans are really hyping up Max Brosmer. I wanted to know what you guys thought of Max Brosmer, especially like what makes him such a tantalizing backup quarterback. Like what what about his
intellect?
His intellect. Okay.
That's what PA said. PA said he spent a few minutes talking to him. He said he's the second or third smartest guy he's ever been around. That's what he said. Now you got to remember he's been around Meat Sauce, Brett Blakemore, me. Hockey, so he's not been around a lot of bright guys, but he says he's really smart. I don't know, Tennessee. I think it's a couple. I do think we like that he played for the Gophers. That's kind of cool. Right. I think it's also one of those feel good kind of stories. Is he played his 4 years at New Hampshire? He played 4 years. Was he a fifth year?
I don't know if he played all 4 of years, but yeah, he transferred.
But he transferred here with 1 year, and he played really well for us. I mean, he did well then. Undrafted, no one wanted to take a chance on him. O'Connell had spent time watching him. He brings him in. He played pretty well in preseason. So I think it's a couple of things. The reason the Vikings fans like him, he's one of us to a certain extent because he played with the Gophers, and he's played pretty well. He did a nice job, and there really isn't much behind McCarthy. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a guy go undrafted, he clearly doesn't have like these elite physical traits that offensive coordinators in the National Football League think they can sculpt. But I'll tell you what, like, there was a knock on his arm strength, and from what I've seen in preseason, even at the joint practices where he was getting a little bit of run against some of, like the Patriots second teamers, I think his release might be elite in the National Football League in terms of how he gets that thing out quickly. I see no issues with his arm strength at all. He looks like an NFL thrower to me. So, he's not going to run for, 15 yards on 3rd and 7 or anything like that for you. But he processes quickly, he goes through his reads quickly, and then he gets the ball out quickly.
When you do that, you don't need to run the ball. There's no reason to.
Absolutely.
So, and I get what Leber was saying of, he is going up against vanilla defenses in preseason. They're not throwing, you get into week 8 of an NFL season, they are picking apart everything about Max Brosmer and how we can attack this guy he's going to have to learn how to adjust to something like that. But from preseason and the joint practice, and he was limited in joint practices, that was mostly McCarthy and Howell that were thrown, but when he was thrown in there, he looked great.
Yeah.
I've seen nothing but good things from Max Brosmer, and I'm glad that he's, as of right now, still on the roster because he deserves to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know I was reading stuff online. It's like, oh, well, he might get cut, maybe not. But I in all essence, think that's just ignorance because I look at his hands and his feet. They're so in sync together.
KOC. Quarterback whisperer.
That's what KOC.
He loves that.
It's truly amazing. And so I go to college at the University of Minnesota, and I saw him play, but I didn't see him throw nearly as much. And we didn't really get a great appreciation for how good of a quarterback and how good of a passer he could have been.
Get carried away.
For the goal.
So now you're blaming Fleck.
I'm not saying
Fleck
anything.
is the reason he didn't get drafted.
I think we're getting a little carried away too. No. What I was going to ask you a question. What the hell was it?
Hold on.
It wasn't anything serious. It was going to be a silly. It was going to be something really stupid. I was going to ask you, but I don't remember what it was now. Oh no, this is what it was. You were talking about it would be silly not to have him on the roster. If you keep 3 quarterbacks, I know this sounds crazy, but that is one depth piece you don't have.
Yep.
You know,
and they didn't last year. They just kept 2 last year.
They're talking about that in Detroit.
Yeah.
They've got Goff, and then it's either Hendon Hooker or this Dick Allen, Bill Allen,
Kyle Allen. Sounds like Hendon Hooker's on the way out.
Yeah. But the question is, because he was. I mean, nobody thought he was going to be. He wasn't drafted. He was a 2nd-round pick, I think. But there were still hopes for him developing a quarterback. So do you go, do we want to give up on him now? And if you had an unlimited roster spots, you wouldn't give up on him. But Detroit's saying, we hate to give him up because we do think there's something there, but we need depth spots. And with the Vikings, you could be thinking the same exact thing. You could say, we've got our quarterback of the future. This is the guy we want. It's McCarthy. We believe that he's going to be our guy for the next 10, 12 years. So Brosmer might be a nice fit, but I don't know if he's going to do much but be a backup here. And are we going to need him? And we really need an extra offensive lineman or defensive lineman or secondary.
It's okay to have 2 quarterbacks of the future.
Well, you can, yeah. No,
the notorious DIG once said it's the most important position of all sports. You give yourself as much insurance. If there's a position you are going to burn a roster spot on, that is the position to do it.
Yeah, that would be that's one way to think about it, but I don't know if the Vikings are thinking that way or not. We'll find out.
It's usually just some guy who's going to play special teams for you anyway. He's burning that last spot.
Right. Yeah, and I look back at 2023, and of course we had such a tumultuous year for the quarterback, but that's a year that we actually kept Kirk Cousins, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, and then eventually
went through all of them.
Traded for Josh Dobbs, and it turned out to be perfect.
I'm doing everything I can to try to throw some cold water on this guy over here. Everything. No, we don't need to do that. We need Brosmer. You think we didn't use him right with the Gophers?
Yeah.
Quarterback whisperer. We've got this. We got that. What am I missing?
Well, you probably didn't watch the games. That's one.
Well, you don't need. It's preseason. There's nothing that happens in because exactly what Leber said. Brosmer. You put him against the Ravens defense in week 1, he ain't going to look anything like he did in preseason. I don't think.
But he might.
Is it worth taking that risk that he might when you need another guy in the secondary because we're thin back there?
I trust Max Brosmer to do a simple check down more than I do Sam Howell, which I'm so glad and I'm impressed that Kwesi actually got that value out of Sam Howell. I thought, and many of my other friends thought, that he would have just been released and we wouldn't have gotten any value. But I think I trust Max Brosmer a little bit more than Sam Howell in that case. Granted, we didn't get a lot of the sample size as far as Sam Howell goes, but he's got the resume. Speaking of resume, why we started Carson Wentz, but yeah. So
you'd fit into worst case scenario. I think they're looking for another guy.
Yeah, you should be on the radio.
Yeah, you should be another guy on the radio.
I'll give him my card.
Well, I guess thanks. I appreciate coming by. Thanks so much,
you.
and best of luck to you. You bet. We're going to take a break here on Ducky and Bunny Radio because everything's Ducky and Bunny. Quack quack. Everything is Ducky and Bunny. Everything's great with all the local teams. We're an embarrassment of riches here in Minnesota when it comes to sports. We'll take a short break when we come back. Speaking of embarrassment. Meat Sauce. He joins us next live here at the Minnesota State Fair. We're broadcasting from Carousel Park in the shadows of the grandstand at the fair on the Fan.